President, honorable members of the Court. I'm the Minister of Justice of Ukraine, and I'm here to deliver to you the position of my government on the present matter. I consider this a single most important court case in my career as a minister, and probably one of the most prominent litigations in the history of Ukraine, and thus I consider it important that I personally appear before the court to represent Ukraine in this case. I would like to start my address by reminding the court that the first application brought by Ukraine in the context of the aggressive war which Russia launched against Ukraine was filed on March 13, 2014, and it concerned the Russian military occupation of Crimea. At the time, it appeared that the case would concern an outrageous but exceptional and territorially limited occasion of the Russian aggression. However, the subsequent events proved that the Russian appetites towards Ukraine were only inflated by the occupation of Crimea. Less than a month after Russia secured its effective control over Crimea, that it had launched a new campaign in April 2014 aimed at occupation of the eastern and southern Ukraine. It did not even put much effort into hiding its participation in the dramatic events of the spring 2014 in cities of the eastern and southern Ukraine, using the same traveling circus of professional separatists, such as Strelkov-Girkin, Bezler, Pavlar, Motorola, Nufriev, in both Crimea and Donbass hostilities. This list could be continued. However, I'm not here to give you the detailed account of the Ukrainian case on Russia's effective control over occupied territories of Luhansk and Donetsk regions of Ukraine. What I'm saying is that Ukraine is suffering not from a separate instances of the Russian aggression and the mass violation of the convention rights associated with them, but with a consistent long-term policy of the Russian Federation aimed at bending Ukraine to the Russian interests and swaying it away from its path towards Western values and civilization. This policy continues up until now. Russia attempts to achieve its goal via various forms and methods. Most recently, it has amassed enormous forces along the border of Ukraine, threatening the invasion and all-out war in order to prevent Ukraine from joining NATO and becoming immune to the threats of this kind in the future. What is peculiar about the current situation and relevant to the matter in the hands is that Russian authorities, exemplar Vice Speaker of the State Duma, Mr. Kosachev, openly claim that Russia would see itself entitled to invade Ukraine if the latter would move its army against DPR and LPR. It is beyond the point that Ukraine does not intend to resolve the DLPR issue by force. What is important here is that such threats by themselves demonstrate the effective control Russia exercises over the DLPR. It also shows that with South Ossetia, the Russian program of generous passportization of the inhabitants of the regions under its control is aimed at providing Russia with a cause to invade independent states whenever it feels like it. In the context of the looming Russian invasion into Ukrainian territory, the behavior of the Russian government toward the hearing in the present case appears sinister. I would remind the court that the hearing was initially fixed for November 24, 2021. The Russian government on many occasions attempted to disrupt the hearing, seeking its postponement on the pretext of the Russian COVID measures and filing an ill-prepared application against Ukraine, seeking its joining to the present proceedings. When these attempts proved ineffective, and the court refused to adjourn the hearing on November 8, 2021, 16 days before the hearing and roughly 3 years after his appointment, the Russian ad hoc judge suddenly discovered circumstances that could compromise his impartiality, which forced the court to reschedule the hearing for today. In late November 2021, the concentration of Russian troops around Ukraine was at its infant stage. Whilst we cannot know for sure that the ad hoc judge followed any orders from the Russian government, not that the Russia's efforts at postponement of the hearing were somehow related to the potential military aggression against Ukraine. However, here we are, represented Ukraine in Strasbourg, whilst Ukraine is facing a threat of invasion by fully prepared Russian army of over 100,000 servicemen. I invite the Honourable Court to take into account this context when considering the Russian objections to the admissibility of the present application. And now I pass the word to Mr. Ben Emerson, QC.